Welcome to Beyond the Bar, a podcast where justice meets recovery. I'm Devin Anderson. I'm a former prosecutor, judge, defense attorney, elected DA, and am currently a recovering alcoholic. I started this podcast because I believe that there should be no stigma around substance use disorder or mental health issues, that you should be celebrated for getting help, not condemned, not shamed. And so I feel like one way to combat the stigma is to talk to people who are in recovery. That's why I started this podcast with episode 1, which was my story. And I've got another person here today with a great story. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is recovery in the criminal justice system, because so many people have issues. It's why they're in the system, really. It's what's driving them to commit crimes. And so unless that's addressed, nothing really changes. But we have these things called treatment courts that nobody really knows much about, and you can get in the system. And if you don't have a lawyer who knows about them or a judge who's kind of iffy on them, you might never even hear about these. So we're going to be talking to people who have actually gone through the courts and graduated. Also talk to people who have run the courts, just so you know that sometimes you got to advocate for yourself. So today I have a great person here, Jessica Yeager, who I met because she is a drug court graduate. The nonprofit that I run, Justice Forward, helps people in treatment courts. And we don't stop. Once they get out of the program, we still help them even after graduation. That's kind of how I got to know her. I literally think she's the poster child for drug court graduates. And she has an amazing story. She's done incredible things with her life. And so I'm really glad you're here. This is not like where you have to give a speech or anything. We can just talk. I've heard your story. I think it's amazing. It's not just what you came from, but it's mostly what you've done with all the opportunities that you've been given. You seized them 100%. So I'd like to start with you telling your story and talking about drug court, and then talking about what you've done since you got out. So we can just dive in.
Okay. Well, I'm Jessica. I have been in recovery since January 29th of 2016. And
trying to do the math.
So that's 9.5 years of sobriety.
Okay.
My last arrest was January 28th of 2016. Okay. And that was the beginning of my journey into Star Court. And so I guess just kind of a little bit before Star Court journey. Basically, both of my parents are alcoholics and addicts. I was raised by my mom. She's a single mom. It was a lifestyle of domestic violence, alcohol, drugs, police at my house all of the time growing up. So basically, the only safe space was at friends' houses or at school. The home space was not, my mom did the best she could, but she had a lot of traumas herself that were never taken care of. And she covered them with alcohol and drugs.
Were you only child?
Only child.
Okay. I did not know that. I am too.
Yep. So
raised by my mom.
Yeah. So I'm an only child, and also very protective of my mom. Yeah. Because it was always just my mom and I. Mm-hmm. So even though she may have not been the best mom, she was my mom. Right. And so basically, my life, I tried desperately to leave the lifestyle. My main focus was straight A's, trying to do something with my life, get out of the environment, do something different. I wanted to maybe get married one day and have a kid in this normal life that everybody else seemed to have, except my family. So basically, life's just been a wild ride. And I, in high school, was able to get a full ride scholarship. And, well, let's back it up a little bit. At 16, I ran away from home. I just had enough. I just didn't want to see my mom that way anymore. I didn't want to, I was just really tired. And so I left home.
Where'd you go?
I started staying at friends' houses.
Couch surfing.
At 16, and I still went to school, high school, straight A student. Nobody knew what was going on. Wow. I didn't, I felt embarrassed. I didn't want people to know what truly was happening at home. I had a boyfriend at the time, and his parents took me in. And I'm very grateful for them still to this day. So they would drive me to school in the morning. And, of course, they made us sleep in separate rooms and all of those things. But his parents at that time really stepped up and helped me out. And I went to school to become a nursing assistant. So I was a nursing assistant on the weekends. And so I was working 2 16s back to back on the weekend, working 32 hours and getting paid for 40, and going to high school Monday through Thursday.
Wow.
So I had my own apartment senior year in high school. I was just on this mission to prove that I could have a better way of life. My mom wasn't going to do it. I didn't have a father, all of these things. So I continued to strive, going to college, community college, full ride to UT nursing school. And in all of this time, I'm still like being a college student, partying once in a while, but nothing, there was never a time where alcohol or drugs just was the main priority. The focus was getting out of this lifestyle. But definitely drinking and using was a part of everything. I grew up with that. Mm-hmm. It was just a way of life at that point. And I went on to nursing school, and the first semester of nursing school, my mom became very ill. She had a brain aneurysm rupture, which basically left her for dead. And, I was at a place in my life where I was at a fork in the road. Do I need to be there for my mom, or do I continue on with school? And I left school and chose to take care of my mom.
Were you out of town at school? Were you in a different town, or was it in Houston?
No, Houston, I don't even know. In the med center.
But you didn't live with her. You had moved out, all that. So mm-hmm. It was whether, do I have to go home and take care of her, or do I continue?
Actually, yeah, so my mom actually was living in Michigan at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so with my mom's story, her family has never been receptive or there for her. They've been very judgmental in her life, and I just knew, no one's going to be by my mom's side. Mm-hmm. And so I made the decision to literally tell my professors, I have to go take care of my mom, got on a plane, and went to Detroit. And I was in my early 20s at that time. My mom was on every life support you could ever imagine. She was not expected to live, but I was determined to prove them wrong. Of course.
No surprise there.
And so I stayed with my mom every day, all day and all night. And what I would do is I would play music videos of her favorite music, and I would just jam out. Because one thing I did learn in nursing school is the last thing to go is your hearing. So even if she couldn't speak, eat, all of these things, she could hear what was going on. And so all of a sudden, one day, she just starts playing the drums on all of this life support. And I pull the curtain back, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, and my mom came back with flying colors,
Wow.
She is a true miracle. Mind-blowing. The doctors, everybody could not believe all of that. Still, till this day. So basically, I took on the responsibility of bringing my mom back to Texas with me, and it was like taking on a child. I had to teach her how to walk, how to use the restroom, shower, the difference between salt and sugar. I had, it was like having an adult child. I had to work all the time. I had to find someone to watch her during the day. It was all of these things. I had no idea what to do in my early 20s, and no other family members were willing to help her. And so that's really when things became really heavy in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, this is it. This is all my life's ever going to be. I tried my hardest to be somebody and get out of this situation, and now here I am struggling, trying to just survive. And that's really when I became heavy in the lifestyle of working full-time, cocktail waitress at night, just learning how to survive, and doing things I shouldn't have been doing, as far as, making money selling drugs, or doing all of whatever it took to. My mom's medicines alone were $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Oh my God.
And so, and she had to have these to survive. And so, basically, I took on a huge task that I had no idea what I was doing. And eventually, life goes on. My mom actually, and interesting enough, I thought, my mom's never going to remember to ever drink again. Like, it's gone. She'll never do drugs or drink ever again. We could start completely over. Like, I could just teach her the whole sober way of life.
Yeah.
And this is the insanity of the obsession of the mind, is that one day my mom just remembered how to drink.
Oh, boy.
Just that fast. Took off with my money. And she's wasn't all there in the mind at that time. So she's chasing drink, took off with all the money, and I can't find her. It's like a teenager on the run. I'm like, oh my God. I'm calling all the cops, trying to find my mom. And then it just shifted to having like this wild adult teenager.
So you did find her, she came back, and you were trying to control her.
Oh my God, it was just such a stressful time, because my mom she was mom. She could not understand that she had a brain injury and all of these other things. And I was the daughter, and she was not going to hear it.
Yeah.
So it was a very stressful time. And it got to a point where I just couldn't have her in the house anymore. So I've got an apartment, and her own separate apartment in the same complex. So I could still look out after her, but I had to start separating from that. And that's when I really started to find happiness in my life. That's when I met my child's dad.
Okay.
And for the first time, I wasn't taking care of everybody. I didn't have all of this extra weight on me. I began to finally be free and happy and in love, and all of these things I did not have all of my childhood, basically. And so...
You're still working? Were you
Still
working?
working, yeah. So, I've always been a hard worker.
What kind of work were you doing?
So really when I started taking care of my mom, I left the nursing home, nursing assistant gig, and I started working in the chemical plant. So my life consisted of working 60 hours a week, taking care of my mom, and paying the bills.
So where did the drug dealing come in?
So my mom always had a pill addiction. Pain pills. My mom has 2 metal rods in her back, so she was always popping pain pills as far back as I can remember. And so I started taking pain pills occasionally with my mom, drinking or partying, and then I was introduced to pain doctors. So at 18, someone showed me the ropes of how to go get all of these pain medications. And then I was off to the races, because I could make a lot of money really fast and take care of my mom. And so I found a doctor at one point that would give me 120 Lorcets, 120 Somas, 90 Xanax, and 60 Oxycontin. And just from the Oxycontin alone, I would make about $2,000 a month, and that would pay for my mom's medication.
Did you have to pay the doctor too? Like split the money with him, or?
You just pay for at that time, a office visit. That was it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So there
Hell
was,
no.
yeah. So they were everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
And so once I was introduced to that, it was just this vicious cycle, and everybody was eating pills.
Yeah.
So when I started working in the chemical plants, I not only was making all of that money, but I was selling all of these pills in the plants with all of these people with all the money.
Mm-hmm.
So I was making triple the money, which was at the time very beneficial to me because I was in survival mode, and it was only me and my mom.
Right.
You know, and that was the way of life for several years.
So when you moved out and you met your daughter's father, were you still doing that work?
Yes.
Both of them? Okay.
Uh-huh.
And using?
I didn't stop going to the pill mills until they shut them down.
Okay.
And at that point, you know, I was always taking pain pills because I had an enormous supply, and I was too scared to use heroin. I didn't want to die. I just literally took the pain pills to, you know, have a pick-me-up or go about the day or continue to work these crazy hours that I was working. So that's really when things shifted in my addiction, is that there was this great idea that we should just try methamphetamines to not go through the withdrawals of opiates,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to do heroin and I don't want to die. And that's when that drug took my soul and took everything from me. You know, and it's
Was that with your, what's his name? I mean, can we say
Troy,
his first
yeah.
name? Troy. So was that with Troy when you started that?
so I would say no. Basically, when that started was so Troy would be in and out of prison
Mm-hmm.
or jail, and that's really when it became a struggle for me. At that point, well, let's back it up. But before it got to that extreme, life was good at some point. You know, he was doing well for himself. He was sober. Which, looking back now, was not a very long length of sobriety. But at that point, it was like, okay, things are good. We're all going to work. The bills are getting paid. Life is great. I became pregnant at that time, and life was good until my daughter was probably like a year and a half or so. And that's when things started to become that were being revealed, that he was actively using again, that people would show up at my apartment. It just started to become chaos, and the cycle of him going in and out of incarceration began.
Right. Okay.
And every time he would be incarcerated, there I was with my child trying to figure out how, you know, I just got out of this madness with my mom.
Right.
Now I'm in this vicious cycle of trying to give my daughter the best life, I never wanted my child to ever experience what I did growing up. And here I am in this whirlwind of how do we get out of here? And so old friends would start coming into the picture, and that's where methamphetamines came in. Every time, you know, and I started to just become in this really dark place of using and just like numbing the situation. Like, how this is insane. They're just gonna let him back out. It's gonna be chaos, and here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, it seemed like every time he was incarcerated, it was like I didn't even have any time. He was like released in no time. And so I just stayed high. You know, if we want to be perfectly honest, I didn't know how to exit this life. I was in a very vicious cycle. And I kept trying to make things work with him, or he would see how good of a woman I am and how much family's important, and he would get help and all of these things. And now I know I clearly can't fix anyone or change anybody. Mm-hmm. But I think the heart of the desire to give my child a family was there. Right, I desperately wanted to make things right for my child, and it just wasn't going to happen with him.
Well, how were you taking care of your daughter? I mean, was that...
So I worked full-time still. I consistently worked. There was a point where I was laid off for some time, but most of the time I was constantly working. So family members would help take care of my daughter while I was at work. And yeah, the issue is I just kept allowing another chance. And later in life, after therapy and these things, it was the same cycle my mom did. And when we looked at that, you know, it's like this whole generational thing. Mm-hmm. Everything I didn't want to be is exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. And so basically, on December 18th of 2015, we were at one of his friends' houses, and the police came. And they were looking for him, and they just left. And so that's the day I was arrested for public intoxication, and they took my daughter that day. And so that was really the first moment of, I got to get out of this situation, like, now. So when I was released from jail the next day after the public intoxication, I removed myself from that relationship, went somewhere safe where there was no drugs or alcohol or anything like that, and I was trying to make things right. And immediately I started trying to get into the solution. At this point, I was already involved with the criminal justice system. Now I'm involved with CPS. Like, I had no idea what to do at this point. Like, my life started to just crumble.
And you were still on the probation?
Yes.
So you're on a dope probation and they didn't give you treatment?
No.
You didn't get any treatment?
No.
Well, that's...
No, I don't ever recall having those conversations.
And you pick up a PI, which indicates you were intoxicated, and you don't get treatment.
And at some point, I quit reporting to my probation officer. So at the end of January, a month and a half later, I was helping this girl. I thought she was getting evicted and washed all these clothes for her kid. I was still trying to be of service, I guess, or helpful to others. And this officer came up. I thought he was going to serve the eviction papers. And that was not the case. So they searched me, and they ended up finding some more drugs. And that's when I was incarcerated with no bond. And that was really the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. So that's
you're on for a felony. You pick up a felony, right? So it's pretty serious.
My daughter's in foster care.
And you'd absconded from probation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were they offering you?
And so they wanted to offer me state jail 2 to 10 years for that being my second controlled substance charge. But I knew that if I went to state jail, I would never have a chance to make things right for my daughter. I would not even have an opportunity to try. And so I just kept going to court and resetting. Like, I'm not going to state jail. I'm not signing. And basically, I went to court, and they were like, you're not going to... There's no more resets. I'm like, I'm not signing. I need to talk to the judge. And at that point, I was really nervous because, first of all, the judge could give me a full 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah, so you were on deferred adjudication, right? Mm-hmm. Where you had not been convicted of a felony yet. right? You were on.
Well, I was on probation for one.
Right, but not convicted.
Right, no convictions.
So yeah, so they were withholding a finding of guilt unless you violated. Then you faced the whole range of punishment. So then you picked up a new case, and they were offering you jail time, which meant you would have been a convicted felon.
Right.
And that would make it impossible probably to get your daughter back, I guess. Okay.
So
you asked to talk to the judge. What were you going to say to him?
he basically said, "You wanted to talk to me?" And I said, "Yes, Your Honor, I did break the law. I broke the law. You could put 2 ankle monitors on me. You can send me to treatment. You could do whatever you want, but if you send me to state jail, I will never have a chance, and you cannot take my motherhood from me." And I said, "I'm standing here all by myself. My daughter's in foster care." And he said, "Okay, I'll give you a chance. I'll send you to Star Drug Court." And that's when the journey began. So
had you heard about it before? Did you know that was available?
Behind the walls, everybody incarcerated talks about different things.
Yeah.
But typically the conversation behind the walls is, "You'll never make it. It's too intense. They're setting you up. You're just going to do all your time."
Right.
That's the whole conversation when you're incarcerated. But that's okay, because I was ready for,
Well, you didn't have any other choices.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. So,
You know what, though? I mean, it's not a setup, right? I mean, it's the opposite of that. And we try to tell people it's not like gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, would you agree? It's like everybody trying to get you through the program. Like they want you to succeed.
I think you have to want a will.
You have to work it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
You have to want better for your life. Like, I don't want convictions.
Right.
That was the first time I learned about advocacy, to speak up for myself in an orange jumpsuit, and I share that with so many people today, that if I didn't stand up for myself that day in an orange jumpsuit, in a holding tank, I wouldn't be here today.
That's right. Tell us about Star Drug Court, what that was like.
Basically the next day is when I entered treatment. May 11th of 2016 is when.
Where'd you go?
Santa Maria Hostel.
Santa Maria, that's right.
And I got into action immediately. Started working my family service plan for CPS. Started diving into Jessica in treatment. And what Star Court looked like was I would see the judge once a week, the PO once a week, randoms.
Random analysis, yeah.
Yeah, up to 6 times a week. Yeah, it was very eventful.
Very structured.
I was very well of 701 San Jacinto.
Wait, let me ask you something. So you said you had a plan from CPS. Was that something that they gave you, that if you did these things, what would happen?
So basically, once I made it to Santa Maria, I got with the counselor and I said, "Look, I've got to get into action.
Yeah.
Like this, I need to figure out what is going on." They helped me call CPS. I was provided a plan of action, basically things I needed to do by certain dates. And as a matter of fact, I had family court that week. So that was a whole shocker for them.
I bet.
I just walked into court and they were not expecting me to be in court. And that's really, I just hit the ground running, whatever I needed to do for Star Court or CPS. And so literally my life, I lived downtown. If I was not at 1201 Franklin, I was across the street at 1200 Congress, literally, weekly. And typically family court would be in the morning, Star Court docket would be in the afternoon. And I'm telling you, like, all of the guards knew me by name.
So you had 2 courts that had 2 list of instructions for you to do. And I know, not to be a spoiler, but I know you did everything.
Yes.
And that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I don't think it'd surprise anybody who's heard your story because you're a very determined person, very strong-willed when you want something, and you wanted your daughter back.
Yes.
So you did it.
The last day I saw my daughter was December 2nd of 2016. And it was at a McDonald's. And I set her up on this table and I said, "You look at me. I'm your mama and you're my baby. And they're trying everything in their power to keep you from me, and I will never give up on you. And
How old was she?
she was like 3 at that time. Yeah, maybe a little over 3. And I made that vow to her that day, and that is the reason I never stopped, because I would never, ever I never wanted my daughter to ask me later in life, why did you not fight for me? That would never even be a question. And so the following Tuesday, I went to court, and that is the day I had trial by judge. And that is the day, December 6th, my parental rights were taken from me. Terminated. Yep. And so that was probably the worst day of my life, I would say. Maybe a second close to actually them ripping her out of my arms the last visit. And then that was just a mission from there on, is to fight for justice, for the love of my daughter, to try to be a part of her life.
So you hit that bottom again. Mm-hmm. You don't relapse.
So
what did you do with your life?
So basically, I'll never forget that day. I had a lot of money in my pocket, and I gave it to my recovery coach that day. Over $500, because I was going to pay all these lawyers, and the lawyers felt bad, and they were like, here's your money. We're not going to take your money. And I went and did outreach that day to sex workers on the street and moms that are unhoused. And I had to find some kind of gratitude, because everybody around me had nothing to say. They were just speechless, couldn't believe what happened. And I just cried and was miserable for a very long time. And I started just staying connected. I went to a lot of meetings. I talked a lot about the injustice. So, 2 things I had: sobriety and a voice in social media. And they were going to hear me regardless if they wanted to or not. And so that was a way I could continue to say, we can stand up for our rights. This is not right. And continue. When my rights were taken, I felt literally like I was up against a brick wall with the state of Texas, because a mom that doesn't have money, you trust in the system. You trust that if you do these things, right, your child will be returned. And how could that be? How could I do all of these things and still you take my child from me? Like, I just could not. There was so much pain in that. And I use that pain for purpose, right? And I share about this all the time, that I could sit in this pity, I could go back to drinking and using and be this miserable mess, or we stand up for what's right and we keep moving. And that's what I did for the next forevermore. And so people rallied around me to fight for justice. I mean, everybody showed up, different lawyers, judges, the NAACP, newspapers, all of these things to bring awareness. Like, why would we do this? And I am one of thousands of families this has happened to. And so I just wasn't willing to be quiet. So I took my little butt up to the Capitol and testified. I had no idea what I was doing. I'll never forget, I was 5 years in sobriety, where I told the state of Texas exactly how I felt. You've given me a life sentence of never seeing my child again over a dirty urinalysis. So it passed in the House. I went back to the Senate, testified again, and it became a law, September of 2021. So a lot of parents who have gone after me now have a chance. I started out as a recovery coach, a youth recovery coach, and this is really where I gained my fire to understand the child welfare system. I started working with kids in TYC, gang-related, foster kids, kids that have lost their parents to drugs and alcohol. I was a recovery coach in the juvenile drug court because I didn't want them to end up in the adult drug court. And that's when Mike Schneider was actually a juvenile drug court judge. And so my advocacy for youth became really hot because there's a lot of red tape, and things shifted for me. I had an opportunity to now do what I'm doing and build this program that is now called Heroes. And it was just an idea in 2018. And I joined that team and forces to collaborate with emergency medicine and first responders to help people just like me. So anytime there's an alcohol or drug-related incident, we go to their home and we try to pull them into treatment so they don't end up incarcerated or lose their families or, worst case scenario, lose their life.
So personally, when parental rights are terminated, there's no contact, right? Unless the parents, adopted parents agree. Is that how it works? Or
it has to be an open adoption typically, and when your rights are terminated, it's not, and that's really up to the adopted parent's discretion in each case if they want a birth parent to be a part of the child's lives.
So you didn't know where she was at all?
I did. I stayed in communication with them via email, but basically it came to the point, like, if you continue to fight, we're ceasing all contact. And I was not going to give up on my child, and, we've been kind of walking through that. And I think as a mom, it's not anything personal to the persons involved. I was fighting a system, period.
Right. They were talking about you fighting for the legislation?
Just in general. Like, if I continued fighting for my daughter, that there would be no contact. And that was the chance I took, But why would I just hide under a rug? That didn't make sense either.
So that was the case? You'd had no contact with her?
No contact. Nope. I had not had any contact with my daughter since that day at McDonald's, December 2nd of 2016. No, nothing. Until she found me.
And when did she find you? And how?
So, she has a lot of friends on TikTok. And so all of these years, I have shared my story. I've been very vocal about being a mom in recovery and my advocacy and different things, because I know at one point she would get a phone and Google me, and I would be the first to pop up. And I've done that purposely for her. So literally, you could type in my name and I'm there, and it's easy to find me. And so I started getting these messages one day, and from this little girl, and I'm like, this is really strange. This is like a real cruel joke somebody's playing on me, and so it was like, hey, I'm Shelby's friend. She wanted me to tell you, all of these things, and I'm like, this is really weird. So I just said, if this is true, tell her I love her, give her a big hug for me. And she's like, it is true. And she was so happy you responded. And basically I was still questioning it, like, what is this? Because I've dealt with a lot of different things in advocacy. And so what I did was I created a TikTok. And if it was really her, she would respond to whatever I said in the TikTok. So basically, I was like, Shelby, if you're watching this, I'd be at every soccer game if I could. If you're playing the clarinet, I would listen to you play all night. And so basically, I got a response the next day. Yes, Mom, I would love for you to be at every soccer game. I don't play the clarinet. I'm in choir, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to send a video so you know it's me. And that's when she sent a video.
Oh, boy.
And the first words out of her mouth was, Mama, blah, 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 blah. And it was such a relief, because over 8 years, people would say, don't you think she's forgotten about you? Do you think she remembers? Why don't you have another kid? And as a mom, it all worked. Nothing the system did in family court helped that situation. But my advocacy as a mom and social media worked. And I really thought she would be a little timid, but no, just Mom. And she was trick-or-treating on Halloween, and she video called me, and I just let her take the lead. I hadn't seen her in over 8 years, and I trick-or-treated with her the whole night.
Oh.
And she's like, it's okay, I know everything, I watched everything. And when I get bored, sometimes I just Google you at school.
It's exactly what you wanted.
Mm-hmm. And so I just always want my daughter to know the truth, you know? And there's going to be truths on many sides, right? But to just be very transparent of, yes, I am a person in recovery, and yes, I was in a toxic relationship, and yes, life happens, and we do recover, and we
recover.
Change, you know? And I think that's important. So I've had some very transparent conversations with my daughter, and she is my biggest fan. You know, she doesn't even care about none of that.
So what about the not the adopted parents? Is she going behind their back to kind of?
No. So that time, yes. And they found out quickly. And I would not be surprised if it's because she just told them. I mean, she's very outspoken.
Imagine that.
And so I received an email basically saying that, you know, we're aware you contacted her. And so they allowed us to start writing each other. And so basically what Shelby would do is handwrite me letters and take a picture of it. And they would send me the picture of the letter. So I would handwrite and take a picture and send it back. And so that went on for a while, and then they started letting us a video call. And so I video call with her every Saturday.
Nice.
And we're just kind of baby stepping, trying to, little by little, build that relationship and kind of walk through this. You know, it's difficult.
But something big just happened to you. I'm going to congratulate you on graduating from college.
Yes. And what a beautiful deal is that the day I graduated is the very day I was able to see my daughter for the first time in 8 years in person. And she just came running across the parking lot. And I just have to say a glory moment is that I did graduate with honors and first generation graduate. And so the stole, basically a stole is you give it to someone who's encouraged you and helped you get through those things. And I was able to give that stole to my daughter that day. And it's so powerful. It means so much that we're still winning. Like, you're gonna win. And she said, you know, when I graduate, it's gonna say second generation. And that's the power in this deal.
That's right.
You know, is that I don't want my daughter to ever know the darkest places I've ever seen. Like, when she sees somebody vaping, it's like, you should know Jesus. I'm like, oh my gosh. Totally different upbringing than, you know, than I went through. So I'm in this new phase in life. I'm stepping into graduate school. Trying to mend relationships and walk through this gracefully, you know, with the help of therapy from Justice Forward.
Oh, good.
That I'm continually actively a part of, because it's difficult to trudge through this with me and my daughter.
You're a damn good investment.
Well, thank you.
You are, and I really appreciate your time today and telling your story. You are a remarkable person, and it doesn't surprise me at all that your daughter is too.
Yeah.
So
I
thank
can't
you
wait
so
till
much.
y'all can meet her.
I can't wait to meet her. I can't wait. So that's all we've got for today. If you have a question about treatment courts, you can go to justiceforwardtx.org. Our website has a lot of information about how we help and also about the courts that we have available. Also, if you have any comments on the show that are pleasant and positive, I'm just kidding, but I'm really, if you have constructive criticism, I can take that, but don't be nasty. My email is beyondthebartx@gmail.com. And remember, you're not alone. There's help for you out there. You never have to do this alone. Thank you.